I see him take some nasty falls. Roads was pretty bad in them days, and it paid to use the brakes coming down a hill. Bidwell's Hill was one of the worst. It was just sandy as all get out at the bottom. And when you hit that sand, you was apt to go right over the handlebars. I come down there with a feller, a new rider, and I told him he better use his brake, but he said no, he didn't want to. Well, he hit that sand and off he went, tail over spindle buggy. I had a lot of fun on that old bicycle. Guess I told you about some of the trips I took, didn't I? When I got through with that bike, I sat down and I figured up my mileage, and I found out that I'd been clear around the world if I'd gone in a straight line. Yes, sir. I'd been over 25,000 miles. Went over 365 miles 1 week. Never did a century run, though I could have easy as not. Some fellers used to see how many of them they could run up. A great trip was up to Palmer Lake and back. That's 50 miles each way. You're supposed to make it the same day, of course.
We know that several property owners along the bike pathway offered a place for the bicyclists to stop and rest. And one of them was David Cook, and David's house still stands between Titan Road and Sedalia. And David is mentioned several times in the newspaper articles.
Dave Cook's ranch is becoming a famous resort for Denver wheelmen. Mr. Cook has spent a great deal of time and money fixing up the place, and now he is reaping the rewards that he deserves.
And then further south, there were several landowners that did the same thing. Proceeding on south, they go through Sedalia, and at Sedalia they then could decide whether to go down the West Plum Creek route or the East Plum Creek route through Castle Rock. And many chose the West Plum Creek route that would take them down through Perry Park. The scenic route down Perry Park Road was the preferred route because of the vistas, and the valley is so beautiful. And one can imagine that it was a destination for some because of its beauty, and they didn't want to go any further than that. And others would have ridden through Perry Park and continued on south down into Palmer Lake.
In this distance of 50 miles, the path gains an elevation of 2,000 feet, rising from 1 mile above sea level in Denver to 7,238 feet at Palmer Lake. Palmer Lake is a popular summer resort with a fine hotel, the Rocklands. It is unique in location, being upon the crest of the divide, which here juts out eastward from the Rockies, diverting the waters which fall on its southern slope into the Arkansas River, while those which fall on the northern side find their way into the Platte. A ride by train to Palmer Lake, taking one's wheel, and coasting back to Denver over the new cycle path will make an ideal trip.
From Palmer Lake, they took many other excursions. They went as far as the Garden of the Gods, and what a beautiful place to ride around in. And they went over to Manitou, and Manitou is just starting as a resort. Some of the other records reveal another route that they traveled, and that was up Jar Canyon and down Sugar Creek Road to the South Platte, and south on that road to Deckers, and then West Creek, and on down to Woodland Park and into Monument.
Around the turn of the 20th century, Senator Ammons sponsored a bill in which $5,000 was allocated for the Denver-Palmer Lake bike path. And as early as about 1901, it became obvious that this bike path was not going to be built exactly as it had originally been planned, as a bike-only path with a 2% grade following the natural contours of the landscape. By 1903, the money that had been set aside by the state legislature for the bike path was being used instead for improvements to a wagon road between Greenland and Palmer Lake. So bicycle riders had to share this road with wagons and buggies and horseback riders. Nonetheless, it's important to note that Despite its diversity of travelers, for many years, this route was still referred to as the Denver-Palmer Lake Cycle Path, which is a clear indication of its significance and its influence.